Now I'd like to introduce our MC for the morning and our pollution prevention partner, Sumesh Arora. Sumesh received degrees in engineering from the University of Central Florida and a PhD from the University of Southern Mississippi, where he serves as an adjunct professor. Sumesh has over 20 years of private and public sector experience and serves as the Vice President of Innovate MEP. Before I turn it over to Sumesh, I would like to say, I'd like to reiterate my sincere thanks to everyone who makes this event possible and say welcome to the 8th Annual EnHance Conference.
Good morning, everyone. So I have to do the routine every time in the morning, right? If we get started things in the morning. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Chris, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to MC the event for this morning session, and we're really excited to be a partner with the DEQ in the P2 program, Pollution Prevention Program. I do have a brief presentation that I'll go through this morning, just introducing what the organization that I'm with and how we plan to work with the DEQ in terms of promoting pollution prevention measures in the state of Mississippi. But before I do that, there's a couple of housekeeping notes. In the package that you see, there's several things in there. The speaker bios are in there. There is an agenda in there, but the updated agenda is a slight change in a couple of the speakers. So outside on the table, the updated agenda is available. So if you check with Barbara, she can give you that. The restrooms are, of course, outside the door. The other two important things, the continuing education form. If you're looking for continuing education credits, Barbara also has that form outside, so you can pick that up from her. And we will be passing out evaluation forms a little bit later on this morning, so you should have those. There is also a sign-in sheet that's going to be going around, so please make sure that you put your name down on the sign-in sheet. And so those are some of the things I wanted to make sure that you are made aware of. Especially the continuing education form, which I know some of you need that. Again, thank you to all the sponsors for this event for this morning. It's certainly not possible to have without the generous support of all the sponsors. With that in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about the E3 program, which stands for Economy, Energy, and the Environment, and how the E3 program is going to be interfacing with the pollution prevention program that's through the DEQ. We'll have two speakers this morning, and then we'll break, and I'll introduce the two speakers after my presentation this morning. So, this jumpy thing. So, again, my name is Sumesh Arora. I work with an organization called Innovate Mississippi. We're a nonprofit organization based here in Bridgeland, and previously we were called the Mississippi Technology Alliance. We changed our name a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, to really focus on innovation as opposed to the technology piece of it, because oftentimes when we talk about technology, people think about just information technology or computers, and we do a lot more than that. Our role really can be defined in just 3 words, which is coach, connect, and commercialize. And our goal really is to work with both entrepreneurs and investors and early stage and manufacturing companies as well, and then layer in the economic development piece in there to really take early stage companies and manufacturers and come up with innovative products and then bring them the resources that they need, whether it's early stage capital or the technical assistance that the manufacturers often need through a variety of programs, and then really in the hopes of commercializing products. So the goal again is to grow wealth and companies, which then of course leads to job creation. So Innovate Mississippi, again, we are focused on entrepreneurship development in one box, manufacturing competitiveness on the other side, and then investment, as I mentioned earlier. So we do that in a couple of ways. One is called the seed fund, and the other one's the angel investor network. So if I don't know how many of you have seen if you can get a show of hands for, how many of you have seen the show Shark Tank on TV? Good, so a lot of you have seen that. It really makes our life a lot easier to explain what we do. Our role is actually prepare companies to go in the Mississippi's Shark Tank, except our investors are not nearly as mean as the ones that they're on TV. So they do look at the investors, and there's a heart for them to really lead by example, and also take Mississippi investors and put it in Mississippi companies. That's really what we're focusing on. Now, we've actually had a couple of companies through our network actually go on TV and secure investments from those guys as well. But there are several events that we host. One of them is Startup Weekend. It's coming up actually April 30th to May 1st. And if you're interested in pitching a deal because you have a great idea and you think that there's a business that you can come, you should check out Startup Weekend. You come in Friday evening, April 30th, you pitch your idea along with 10 or 15 other people who are going to be pitching their ideas. And if everybody in the room likes your idea, they get to vote on it. You can actually form a team right there, and the goal is by Sunday evening, you're actually going to launch that business. So it's 54 hours of, lots of Red Bull, sometimes regular beer as well too, but definitely a lot of adrenaline going. And by Sunday evening, you're actually launching that business. So and Startup Weekends are actually held all over the world. Innovators Hall of Fame Gala, that's coming up in September. New Venture Challenge, that's going to be in November along with the conference, and that's a business plan competition that we run. And then certainly the Discovery Luncheons, which are hour and a half long luncheons. The one on April 27th is down on the Gulf Coast actually. So we do cover pretty much the whole state. And then the signature event is the Conference on Technology Innovation, which again work very closely with a lot of our partners in that as well. And that's going to be November 2nd. Just mentioned Startup Weekend. So again, it's a new place that's opened up just literally right around the corner from the DEQ office on State Street called Coalesce. It's what's called a co-working space. So if you have companies, again, that's another area that you can use to launch your businesses and work on your businesses. And that's where the Startup Weekend will be held. And again, thanks for all the sponsors that support that event as well. So the Innovate MEP portion is what directly interfaces with the DEQ portion of it. Innovate MEP stands for the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which is a national program, and it's designed to help strengthen the global competitiveness of Mississippi's manufacturers. We're headquartered in Ridgeland, and we have 5 centers around the state that are actually providing services, and we have some of those folks represented in this room as well. So Glenn, if you would, Tanya, raise your hands. Any other MEPs represented other than CABS Extension? Okay, that's it, right? So yeah, thank you for being here. So the work of the MEP is really done by the centers around the state and coordinated by the headquarters, and some of the services are provided from the headquarters as well too. And again, it's very much a collective effort, and this is a public-private partnership, as we like to call that. The impact from the Innovate MEP program is really significant for the state of Mississippi, and if you look at those numbers, just in number of retail sales, this is fiscal year 2015 impact. It's $114 million with about $4 million in cost savings. But look at the number of the jobs. There's 3,500 new jobs in the state, and then retained jobs is another almost 600 retained jobs. So it's a very significant portion of the work that's being done by the MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership, has direct economic impact for the state. And those results are verified by third-party survey. And as I mentioned, the MEP is a part of a national program, national structure called the Hollings Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which, as I mentioned, is a public-private partnership. It means that we are leveraging federal dollars along with state dollars as well as client fees or the private sector dollars. So, and again, it's designed to provide training, technical assistance, innovation services to small and medium-sized manufacturers. And nationwide, there's actually about 60 centers around the state and many more field offices around the state. So it just kind of gives you that we're not doing this work in isolation, we're working with partnerships. And the other thing that it really does as an MEP center is gives us access to resources around the country. So we look at best practices from other states as well too, in terms of what they're doing. And that's really more specifically when we're talking about the E3 program, we definitely have a very good collaboration with several other states, including Virginia, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, when we're looking at the best practices for the E3 program. So talking about the E3 program, it's designed to support the P2 program at the DEQ, and apologize for the acronym soup that I'm presenting you with first thing in the morning. But again, if you can just remember the two, the P2 and the E3, those are the main ones. But it is really a collaborative effort also. And we're going forward, we're going to be working with the Franklin Furniture Institute. I see the folks from Bill Martin and Chip and Amy are back there. So we're going to be collaboratively developing a new approach to deploying the E3 services for manufacturers as well as food processing and a couple other key sectors in Mississippi. So and a couple of the other partners, Mississippi Polymer Institute and ESCOM. And some of you may have already met or know Mary Jean Gates, who used to be working on this program. She's still going to be part of the team, and we'll call her in as we need her on the specific E3 assessments. But basically, we're going to be working with Mary Jean and carrying on the work that she'd been doing for the last several years. Those are big shoes to fill. I know those of you who know Mary Jean Gates. Of course, this is to support the P2 program at the DEQ. So what is E3? And this is a slide that Dallas Baker has used as well too, who's going to follow me. So borrowed that slide from him. But it is a model for collaboration among manufacturers, utilities, local government, and federal resources, which is intended for making investments in the local communities. So you work not necessarily just directly on the communities themselves, but the industries that you work in have direct impacts on those communities. And you always keep that in mind when you're deploying the E3 programs. You're addressing energy and sustainability challenges. Energy efficiency is a big part of the E3 program. And oftentimes it actually is the hook to go into the manufacturing facility and say, hey, look, what's your energy situation like? How are you using energy? And a lot of times people are not as conscious about your energy consumption, and it gets rolled up into various cost centers and doesn't really show up as a specific cost. So it is an area that really can have significant savings. And I've seen numbers that, it's $18 to $20 million could be saved in the manufacturing sector in the state from energy efficiency. So these numbers really do add up when we are looking at energy efficiency. And you'll be hearing more about that. You'll be hearing from the utility sector, one of the speakers later on this morning, as to what the potential is, what's already going on in Mississippi from the standpoint of energy efficiency. And of course, then providing the technical resources and assessments to help them understand and analyze what the current situation is and how they can improve upon that situation. And then, of course, the ultimate growth, as E3 says, is growing the economy. So the benefits of for the manufacturers, and talking about you can really be green and be able to save green as well too. Our objective in deploying any of these programs is not to make you feel good, not to, that comes when you're saving money, we think, but it also comes from the fact that you're actually doing the right thing. But you're saving money, which is also important at the same time. So there's definitely that economic benefit that derives from that, but from the cost savings, as I mentioned. And then you can put sustainability practices in place as well too. We always look at the paybacks when we're trying to deploy these programs to see what would make sense, what does not make sense. And unfortunately, something more than 5 or 6 years, the industry, and oftentimes less than that actually, industry is really hesitant to make investments in that have longer paybacks like that. So we always also try to think of, what type of incentives that could be brought to the table, what kind of financing resources could be brought to the table that could really help lower those payback periods for the companies. So it is a more comprehensive approach in terms of bringing these energy efficiency measures or other technologies to the table that may make the operations leaner from a manufacturing standpoint. So, all that is to say, to say that it does impact the bottom line for the manufacturer. So, hopefully, it makes them more competitive and when they are adopting these new technologies. And again, that indirectly leads to job creation as well as job retention. So, the access to the technical and the financial resources is really important part of the E3 program. And some of the E3 assessments, we've done 4 E3 assessments so far. We did 5 actually. The first one didn't really count as much because the person who was really spearheading that ended up leaving the company, so the work was not carried on. But overall, when you look at the impacts from that, and we, again, this is third-party verified because it's through the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program that we are looking at the E3 assessments. So it's about $4 million in terms of the impact in those 4 assessments that we've done. Now, it's not necessarily evenly distributed across those 4 companies, but overall the impact was one of the companies actually had a pretty significant investment in the plant equipment once they realized when we went through the assessment with them. So the target audience is manufacturers and firms in Mississippi, typically fewer than 500 employees. And then this going forward, we'll be looking at specific focus on the food processors and possibly the automotive sector as well too. And they may not necessarily be the manufacturers, but looking at even on the sales and the service side of the automotive sector as well. And then we'll be planning workshops, webinars, and the assessments. So stay tuned for emails that either Chris or I send out to you or Kerry sends out. That we'll be certainly keeping you in touch with that. And again, our partner is going to be the Franklin Furniture Institute on this. So the community benefits indirectly from that, from the standpoint of economic growth, but also meeting the air quality standards in the communities. Here's the contact information if you guys need any information before we send anything out. So Dr. Jay Tice, who's the director of Innovate MEP Mississippi, and also the vice president at Innovate Mississippi. So our contact informations are out there. I think we should be in the attendee list, which is also in your packet. So do not hesitate to jump out and contact me if you have any questions. And when we talk about questions, I have to share a story with you. I was on a radio program yesterday. I was talking about an Indian cultural program. And one of the callers asked, and out of the blue, he says, well, you're a Hindu, the program is being held at the Hindu Temple Society of Mississippi. What's your take on homosexuality and Hinduism? I said, that's not a question I was prepared to answer yesterday evening. So when I said, ask me any question but that. So we'll take all other questions.